I want to thank Reed and what he does for this Miracle Hill, and Cindy Kelly for inviting me, and Ray and Cheryl Schroeder that were driving me around tonight, and I appreciate all the hospitality that I've shown here. Wow! Can you guys hear us and see? I mean, can you even see what we're doing up here? This is one of the largest audiences I have ever seen, and we have been doing more than 200 of fundraisers for the homeless. We've done over 500 events. But wow, this is a crowd. I thought this was a little town I was coming to. You know, they told me that Greenville is like the buckle in the Bible Belt, because where I come from, we're the Mecca of the prosperity gospel. And so, you know, I didn't realize we were going to have this many people here, but I really thank you for coming out and supporting Miracle Hill tonight. And I was just on the phone to Denver with this afternoon, and he's in the hospital. He's been in the hospital now for about 5 or 6 weeks, and been in the hospital for much of the last 6 months with just multiple health problems, and he'll probably never be able to travel with me again. He's been over 200 cities with me, and he's probably done over 300 or 400 events with us in the last 4 years, but he'll not be able to travel any longer. But he said, be sure you tell those folks, Mr. Ron, that though our lips is always flapping like Bible leaves, that we ain't no preachers. We just an old art dealer and an ex-con, 2 sinners. We're saved by grace. So there's our disclaimer. So don't think I'm preaching to you, but I tell you that tonight I was reminded as we walked in and I saw the actors out there that were in the boxes, and the homeless people living in boxes. It reminded me of 2 men that were driving by under the bridge, and they saw kind of a village of homeless people there living in cardboard boxes. And one man asked his friend, he said, you know, I'd love to ask God why he allows all of this homelessness and why he allows all this poverty in our city and allows it in the world. And the guy said, well, I think that's a valid question. Why don't you ask him that? He said, I'm scared. I'm scared to ask him that. He said, come on now. What could you possibly be scared of to ask God that question? He said, because I'm afraid that he would ask me the same question. Well, God does ask us that question. He asked us one time in Luke chapter 10, which you know is the story of the Good Samaritan. And I hope when he asks you that question that it's not, you don't give the answer that the priest and the Levite gave, because when they sized up the man in the ditch, they asked, the first question was, what's going to happen to me if I stop and help this guy? And so they chose not to for their own selfish reasons, and they left the man in the ditch. But along comes the Good Samaritan, and fortunately, when he saw the situation, he wondered, what is going to happen to him if I don't? I'll tell you that God is asking us right here in Greenville tonight. He's asking you, what are you doing for those that are hungry and have no place to sleep tonight? What are you doing for the women and children in crisis? And I'm proud to say, I am so proud to say that we have an answer here in Miracle Hill. I was not expecting the magnitude and greatness of Miracle Hill when I came here. And I've been in over 200 homeless ministries and soup kitchens and overnight shelters in the last 4 years, and none are better than what you're doing here. And I want to tell you, you want to know what difference do it make? It's making a difference here. I am so proud. I wanted to say hats off to you, but I don't have my hat, so I just salute the people of Greenville. This is the most amazing ministry that's going on here. And look how many people showed up to support God's people here. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I tell you, you can tell it's making a difference. You know, there's something really tragic about our story. And it is tragic that my wife died, a very beautiful, godly woman who served and loved the homeless people. That is tragic. But there's something even more tragic than that, is that people like you tonight have come by the thousands, and we have literally spoken probably to close to 1 million people in the last 4 years that we've been on the road. And I can tell you that it is so sad to me that people come night after night after night because they think we have such an extraordinary story. But Denver and I sincerely pray, and we pray this every day, that one day we will live in America. We'll live in a city where no longer will our story be extraordinary, but it will just be ordinary. We'll live in a place and we'll live in a world where all the people that have found themselves in the ditches of life will find a true Good Samaritan and not just one who flips a coin to a beggar. But we had more stories to tell, and we have the new book called What Difference Do It Make? And some of those stories are our stories, and some of them are your stories that you have told us, you know. We answer such burning questions in that book like, should I give money to the homeless? That's a question we get asked almost as much as, does Oprah know about your book? We also address that in the same book. But we had a wonderful story in there that I loved. It was about an 8-year-old Lucy in Mobile, Alabama. She saw our book sitting on her mommy's nightstand, and she saw her mommy crying, and she wanted to know what was wrong with her. And she said, because this poor man doesn't have anything. And Lucy said, I'll take care of that. She went out and opened a lemonade stand, got all of her friends to open lemonade stands. So with a heart and a plan and a lemonade stand, Lucy changed their city. And we love to tell those kind of stories. Those happened all over. Just want to close by reading a couple of paragraphs from our book to let you know how Debbie's dream became a reality. The Sunday after the groundbreaking for the new mission, Denver and I pulled into the parking lot of the new Mount Calvary Baptist Church, a church in a depressed neighborhood in southeast Fort Worth. Pastor Tom Franklin had heard Denver speak at Deborah's memorial service, and for months had kept after me to try to convince him to come and preach at his church, and finally Denver agreed. I had prayed for a standing room only crowd, but by the looks of the parking lot, folks were standing somewhere else that morning. Pastor Tom read my thoughts. He said, don't worry, Ron, everyone the Lord wants to be here is going to be here this morning. And as the service began and the tiny congregation filled the air with old spirituals, Denver and I huddled on the back row. Pastor Tom had wanted me to introduce Denver from the pulpit and spend a few minutes telling his life story first. But as I suspected, old Denver wasn't having any of that. And during the singing, he and I huddled on the back row to negotiate what he would let me say. It ain't nobody's business how I got here, he whispered. Besides, I don't want to tell them nothing about me. I just want to tell them about my Lord. So what do you want me to say, I asked. And he paused and he stared down at the Bible that was laying next to me on the bench. Just tell him I'm a nobody that's trying to tell everybody about somebody that can save anybody. Now, that's all you need to tell them, folks, Mr. Ron.